Hello and welcome to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. We're brought to you every week by our sponsors. We are Tribe.co.
Natural sports nutrition delivered direct to you. Get a free trial pack of 6 delicious energy bars, trail mix, recovery bars and shakes for just £1 by using the code Oxygenaddict1.
And PrecisionHydration.com.
Precision Hydration offer electrolyte drinks in different strengths to match how you sweat. Personalise your hydration strategy today at precisionhydration.com and get a free box or tube of pH worth up to $9.99 using the code Oxygenaddict.
Awesome, and a massive thank you to our patrons
who support the show with a monthly donation. You can get our 2018 patrons only podcast as a thank you.
Cool stuff, and hello, welcome to the show. Hells, what a weekend of racing it has been. We are well and truly in the thick of summer. We've got news for you today from Ironman Austria, from Challenge Roth. You see what I did there? I pronounced it correctly, Hells, in honour of the big event.
You
Challenge
did.
Roth, most of you will know it as. Edinburgh 70.3 and also the Outlaw Half at Holcombe, amongst other things. And we've got a fantastic interview with Suzie Richards, who finished in 5th place at 70.3 Edinburgh as well. So Suzie stepped up to racing pro, and her results are improving race on race. So we've got a cracking interview with her about what it's like to race professionally. So Hells, how you doing? Have you had a good weekend?
Yes, I have, Rob. It was fairly chilled out this weekend. No racing. I did a big open water swim yesterday in preparation for our 6K Bantam Swoosh in a couple of weeks, which I'm very excited about now.
Yeah, it's not far away, that is it?
No, really not far away. So I did a non-wetsuit swim on Wednesday evening last week in Salford Quays, which I think I've been in once before, non-wetsuit, and thought I was going to die of hypothermia when I got out.
It's warmed up a bit, is it, this year?
Oh my God, it was 21.9 degrees. It was really, really nice.
Yeah.
And there were loads of scallies jumping in, just generally jumping off bridges.
It's part of the charm, isn't it? Part of the charm of swimming at Salford is the boys jumping off the barriers and throwing Stella bottles in after themselves.
There was a lot of that. And there was almost like if you go to somewhere like Paris and quite a few big cities, with a bit of a stretch of water, they put in like a beach, a man-made beach when it gets hot, like Paris Plage or something that. Yeah. Well, obviously there is no official Salford Quays playa going on, or beach or whatever, but there's just bits of concrete where people have been sunbathing.
Lovely.
Jumping in Costa del Salford. It's amazing. That happened on Wednesday, and then Rob yesterday did a big swim in our more local place, and I did it all non-wetsuit. I did 4.5K.
Very good.
Yeah,
very
nice.
So nice.
It was really nice. I loved it. And that water temperature was more like 25, 26 degrees. This just does not happen.
It is baking, isn't it? A lot of the little swimming holes around me have got a thick film of green algae over them at the moment, so they're not looking that appealing around this way. But yeah, it's a good time to be an open water swimmer. It's a bad time to be trying to race long distance, isn't it? There's a lot of hot, sweaty people out there trying to train at the moment and trying to race, and my heart goes out to a lot of people who are trying to race in this and finding it's just disgustingly hot.
I know. I mean, I'm in UK. The weather's still meant to be good for the next 2 weeks, so it still looks pretty warm for that one as well, doesn't it?
Well, the hills are still on fire up above Ironman UK at the moment, aren't they? It's a real moorland fires going on up there. So
I know, I did see that, and it's right by Sheep House.
Yeah, it really is. So hopefully that'll all be okay by race day. So fingers crossed. It's pretty unprecedented, isn't it?
It's just remarkable. I'm obviously I haven't been affected by any fires, but I'm loving the sun and the warmth, Rob. It just makes a change.
It is. It's a lovely summer, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're all going to be complaining, in a few weeks' time when everything's yellow.
Well, not me. I don't care. I like the sun. It's all good.
It just makes everyone happy. Rob, I saw you at the weekend. We saw each other, didn't we?
Yes, you did. I was happily dressed as a superhero for the Limb Trail Races 5K. Put on my son's little Batman outfit, and yeah, I was told everyone's dressing as a superhero, and actually it turned out there was about 7 kids dressed as a superhero. So
Yeah, the little lad that won, he was definitely not dressed as a superhero, was he?
no, that was my mate Simon's son. Actually, he was super rapid, wasn't he?
He was really quick. He was
Yeah.
nearly overtaking the lead bike person.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And his little brother was in third as well. It was a
Oh, was he?
dominating performance by the young Marwoods. Yeah,
They
very
have
impressive.
some good running genes.
Well, mark the words. You might not have heard the last of those names in the world of triathlon. Young Archie Marwood was racing around the close at 2012 when the Brownlee brothers won. And he decided he was going to go out and do laps around the close. He was only about 6 at the time. So who knows? Maybe there's fame in their future, hey?
He was very, very rapid and won by a long distance.
He did.
Your superhero costume, Rob, looked incredible.
Well, didn't know what was going on Twitter at the time. That was a surprise to see.
It looked good.
It's all good fun, isn't it?
Yeah, all good fun.
You've got to do your bit. All right, let's kick on with the show, shall we? We've got to jump in this week with our Tribe Triathlete of the Month award. And we're proud, pleased, and happy to announce that this month's winner is a gentleman called Matt Laffan, who was nominated by John Warren. Tell us a bit about him, Hells.
Well, he is Havering Tri and Pirate Ship of Fools teammate. And basically, Rob, he stopped and sacrificed his own race at Lakesman to come to the aid of a fellow athlete who was having an asthma attack.
Pretty impressive, full-on, selfless. I don't know many people who would in normal life walk by somebody having an asthma attack, but we all get our race heads on in races, and to actually, his mate who sent it in, John, said he was in the shape of his life. He was up for a PB, and then he sat down and spent 15 minutes sitting with somebody at the business end of his marathon. So that gets my vote. That's humanity at its best right there, isn't it?
You say it is. You'd like to think to stop and do it, but a lot of people would carry on, especially when you're in race mode. And so, yeah, to actually stop and help someone else, I think is great.
Cool. Matt Laffan, we salute you. I'm actually saluting as I speak at the moment. That's a worthy award. So, Matt, you're going to win a big parcel of goodies from our sponsors, Tribe Nutrition. They're going to send you a great big pack with 18 bars and shakes and a T-shirt and all kinds of good stuff in there to say thank you for being a good guy. And for the rest of you listeners out there, you can get yourself a sample pack of this if you've not had one before for just £1 using the code Oxygenaddict. You get a trial pack with 6 energy bars, trail mix and recovery bars and shakes in. So again, that's the code Oxygenaddict. We also had another cracking nomination who didn't quite get the nod in the end, but Chris Pugh nominated his friend, Hells, do you want to pronounce this? Is it Ove?
Yeah, Ove Anderson. He's 55. He's a member of Belvoir Tri Club based in Grantham, and he says he's like his own Viking warrior. And basically, Rob, he did Triathlon X. Ove did Triathlon X, but with about 30 miles to go, he came off his bike, flew over the handlebars, and he just had a total nightmare. They put his bike into a bit like what we were saying you should do the other week.
He snapped off his rear derailleur, didn't he, in the crash?
Yeah, to put it into one gear. And Robbie did go over rhinos with his single speed.
That is impressive. I'm looking at the description of how they did this. It says, we shortened the chain using zip wire, the handle of a cool bag and a wooden stick, and enabled him to ride in a single gear. I wish I'd known about that trick when I was trying to get over the pass. I wonder what you do with the handle of a cool bag and a zip wire. That's very impressive.
Genius.
Yeah, it is.
Genius.
So, yeah, good effort, man, getting yourself to finish for Triathlon X. And then it says, the damaged knee meant he was unable to run, so he limped around and ended up coming in on 19 hours and second last. What a cool guy. But that's not all.
No, because then when on the ride, he came across another competitor who needed help. He donated his spare tyre to this guy who had travelled over to race in Poland. And then he even got a thank you from the guy inviting him to go over to Poland and join in some events over there. So, yeah, Ove, I'm sorry you didn't get the award, but we were very impressed by your story. And thank you so much, Chris Pugh, as well, for nominating Ove.
Yeah, and Ove, we salute you too. What a good guy. Giving away your spare to somebody so they can finish. That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah, it is brilliant. I love these people. I love our listeners, Rob.
Yeah, me too. I love that more than I love the stories of people racing fast, if I'm perfectly honest. It's all about the camaraderie, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. You know when you the races which really, really stick out, Rob, for me are like when I paced my friend to a 2-hour half marathon. I loved it. I genuinely loved it because you could help other people along the way. It wasn't that total race face on, and you could really make the most of seeing the race from a completely different perspective. And yeah, helping others, pushing wheelchairs up hills. It was great.
Good stuff. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
I love it. Yep, love it.
But I suppose we should talk about a little bit of fast racing, really, shouldn't we? Because there's been a lot of it going on this weekend. So let's jump right in. So results section sponsored by our friends over at precisionhydration.com. You guys can get yourself some precision hydration using the code Oxygenaddict. You can get free tube or sachets worth up to $9.99 using that code. It is super important to stay hydrated at the moment, especially if you've got big events coming up. And we personally think that taking precision hydration is better than just taking water. If you're sweating a lot at the moment, you're going to need to replace those electrolytes as importantly as replacing the water as well. So we know you can do it with your normal diet as well, but precision hydration just makes it so much easier. Mix it in with your drink, doesn't taste salty, and it helps quickly replace those electrolytes that are lost in sweat. So if you're suffering with cramps, or you're doing a lot of training in the heat at the moment, or you're racing in the heat soon and you're planning on getting the electrolyte count up on race day, don't try something new on race day. You need to be practicing it in your strategy as you go along as well. So I know we've got loads of guys racing at Ironman UK in a couple of weeks' time. We've got loads of listeners racing at Outlaw the Outlaw full distance a couple of weeks after that. And the weather is looking roasty toasty. So you really have to look after your electrolyte intakes. Get on it, people. First up, we're going to jump over to our friends in Germany at Challenge Roth. And I've got to say, Hels, our mate Torsten did a cracking job on the commentary. I don't know if you got a chance to listen in, but he was really good. I was dead impressed with him.
I saw a little bit, Rob, and the bit that I saw was all in German.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You could click a thing that gave you the English commentary over the top.
Oh, well, I missed that bit, didn't I?
And I was tuned in 2 or 3 times, and Torsten was just happily chatting away. He was dead interested. I think he did a fantastic job. There's a future in commentary for that gentleman right there, I tell you.
Oh, I like that. No, I was listening to German commentary, Rob, thinking this is kind of going in one ear and out the other, but I'm a linguist. I like.
I was going to say your ears are basically a Babel fish, aren't they? So it'd be making sense to you.
Yeah, German's not in my repertoire. However, I love languages, so I'm quite happy listening to anything foreign. If I can pick up the odd word, I'm like, ooh, great. Anyway,
anyway, that's it. This is the big one. Tell us who won, Hels.
Well, I think, Rob, the picture of the day, definitely in my mind, was one of the finish line with 2 women sprawled across the finish line, basically. That showed how epic a race it was. Daniela Samler took the win, Rob, in 8:43.42, just ahead of Lucy Charles in 8:43.51.
Super close racing, wasn't it?
Oh, it just sounded like a real sort of ding-dong battle towards the end of that run. And yeah, it says that Samler went past Charles with about 7k to go, got a little bit of a small lead, but then she started getting cramps in the final 5K. Lucy Charles wasn't that far back, and it just happened in the last few hundred meters that Samler hung on and got the win by 9 seconds.
It's unbelievably close finish, and fair play to Lucy as well. The headline number there was she led out the swim, but she also beat all the pro men out of the water as well. So absolutely brilliant swimming, brilliant riding from her, and then a proper head-to-head race on the run. So, and we've got to give good credit to Torsten as well, because he talked up Daniela Samler a couple of weeks ago, and she wasn't really on our radar at the time, but fair play to the man. He called the form book, didn't he?
Yep, he did. So he got it right. And then Kaiser Sally was third. Rob, she did the fastest marathon of the day, only just by a few tens of seconds in terms of fastest marathon. Laura Siddle also did a 3-hour run, and a brilliant performance from her. So Kaiser Sally finished in 8:46, just ahead of Laura Siddle in 8:48. So that's faster than last year's time as well, isn't it, for her?
Yeah, sure is. Over on the men's side, we had Cam Worth taking it to everybody with a new Roth bike record of 4:05. So I think he had Sebi Kienle sitting with him to about 140k on the bike and eventually snapped the elastic. And he held on for a very creditable finish as well, which was really good for him going under 8 hours. But the man of the day was Sebi Kienle, taking it out in 7:46. Andreas Dreitz in 7:53 in second, and Jesse Thomas of the USA in 7:54. Joe Skipper brought it home in 7:56 with a very tasty marathon at the end as well, and then Cam Worth in fifth, going sub 8 hours, which I remember him saying was one of his big goals for this year. So he's getting faster and faster with every race. His marathon's getting faster and faster, so he's one to watch out for. And that's on the back of racing Ironman France last weekend as well.
Yeah,
he broke the bike record there.
Yeah,
so
I know.
The guy's a maniac, isn't he?
I think I saw him on the start line. I thought, really? Because we would have seen that he had done Ironman France, and then it's amazing.
There was an asterisk in Torsten's booklet beforehand that says this athlete has raced an Ironman, or is on the start list of another Ironman race within a week or something, within 2 weeks, which is his way of usually saying in his race listings, look, somebody's entered a few races and we'll probably pick one of them, but not Cam Worth. He's picking all of them.
I know. Rob, when he can get that run, heading towards sub 3, he'll nail it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's all good. All right then, so over to Ironman Austria. Another huge European race. Again, loads of super fast times usually put up on this course. Not so much this year, actually, compared to other years. But there was some really good racing at the front. And again, a toasty hot day. The thing that I liked when I tuned into the coverage several times during the day was, again, fair play that they've got this new system of putting their coverage up on Facebook Live, and it was really good. It was really good coverage the whole way around with good commentary. On the men's side, they were filming Michael Weiss, who had been leading on the bike, and judging by the speed he was running when I tuned back in, I thought he'd exploded and it was game over for him, and he was kind of running along with the age group field and not really making any progress through them. And then the commentator said, Michael Weiss is a couple of K from the finish here and he's going to win this year, and he was just hanging on by his teeth to get to the finish line, bless him.
Those last few K.
He was a long way ahead of Ivan Tutkin, who came second. But the difference in the run speed, Michael Weiss ran a 2:51:40 marathon. Ivan Tutkin ran a 2:40 marathon.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
He was just flying, and the difference between them, it was night and day.
Just blatant. Yeah.
I mean, at 2:51 is not slow running, let's be honest, but it looks like jogging.
Pedestrian.
Yeah, it really did. And I think probably his pace had tailed right off at the end as well. So good on him for getting himself to the finish line in one piece.
Yeah, in the end, it was nearly a 10-minute win, wasn't it? And then Andy Potts was third in 8:14. Rob, I noticed that David McNamee wrote something he said something yesterday, so Sunday, saying, "Oh, I was out there for an hour longer than I meant to be," which for pro an hour is a very, very long time. So he did 8:55 and he did a 3:30 marathon. And he said, at the 27k mark, I started to walk. Never in my sporting career have I felt so empty. I felt embarrassed. However, the support from both spectators and fellow athletes got me to the finish line. Sporting wise, it will be a day I want to forget, but I truly learned what makes our sport special.
Good lad for grafting out and getting to the finish, I reckon.
I think so.
Yeah.
I really do. And what must go through your head as a pro, especially.
Long, cold walk, that, isn't it? 15k of walking with knackered legs.
I know, but still manages to do a 3:30 marathon.
Yeah.
But, okay, that would be, what, 40, 50 minutes slower than what he'd...
Yeah. He'd be expecting to run in the 240s,
245,
low 240s for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
Rob, the women's race...
not without controversy.
No, I know. So it was won by Maureen Hoof of Germany in 9:02. Second was Lisa Hutthaler in 9:0. They've got that a little bit wrong. They've got a slightly wrong time in the results that I've got up here. And then third was Emma Pallant and Suzie Cheeseman fourth, right?
Yeah.
But afterwards, Suzie Cheetham has put out a statement about the drafting and the moto pacing during the race, and she said that she feels that unfair racing and officiating took place at the front of the women's race and that it affected the results on the day. She said that she gave video and photo evidence in an appeal against one of the top three girls for unfair drafting, and against the race officials for inadequate marshalling and providing an unfair advantage due to inadequate moto discipline. And basically, Rob, the appeal's been upheld, and so the race organisers have cut 5 minutes from those top three women, haven't they? Or from fourth place, basically.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, isn't it? So I tuned in and watched the coverage, and I was watching the three leading ladies riding, and I didn't think they were drafting, to be fair. They looked to be riding, the clip I saw, they looked to be riding legal, 10, 12 metres apart. But what was really noticeable was that the motorbikes that were around them, and there were at least 2 or maybe 3 motorbikes in the shot, so there's a fourth one filming at the time, were really close to them. So there was a lead motorbike riding in front of the lead lady, and you were looking at it thinking, that's really close. It's unusually... I don't think they were doing it deliberately, but there's no question that the motorbikes were too close to the leading trio. So obviously I had a 30-second watch of it and went off to do something else and came back later on. But it did strike me at the time as being, hang on, mate, that's a bit close. So the thing that is really odd about this is that, and I really feel for Suzie here, she said, you know what, there's video and photo evidence of this.
Yep.
But to just say, we'll give everybody who's from fourth place upwards like a 5-minute time, make you 5 minutes closer to the people in front. That's weird.
Yeah.
And I know they should have done something about it at the time, but it's a bit like the VAR thing in the World Cup, isn't it? If you've got evidence that someone's not been playing by the rules, then surely there's got to be a penalty for it. Yeah,
because it doesn't affect the results at all.
Exactly.
The 5-minute thing, does it?
It's kind of a weak way for them to go, well, we'll do something, but...
It's like a little slap on the wrist, but not anything more, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
On the flip side, Rob, the fact that they have done something shows a tiny bit of progress, doesn't it? The fact that they haven't...
well, I think they're going to have to be sharper in future, because if they're going to show all of these events and people's loved ones and coaches and whatever are watching, I imagine whoever Suzie Cheetham's nearest and dearest were watching that would have been incensed with her in fourth 10 minutes back down the road and seeing everyone getting motor paced in front. So they're just not going to get away with it in future.
No, exactly. No, and which is a really, really good thing. But if the fact that this, if this is the first step, Susie's spoken out about it, she's presented a very concise and a good argument forward, she's given the evidence. So the fact that it's very much a start, yes, you want more to be done, but they could have said, we're not looking at anything and ignored it all. So it's a start. Yes, way more needs to be done.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what more comes out about this, I think.
I think so. I think so. Over or up in Edinburgh, Rob? It was 70.3 Edinburgh. Sunny skies. It looked very different compared to last year's Chop Fest in the water.
It did. We'll hear a little bit more about this later on, because our interview of the week is with Suzie Richards, who raced and placed in 5th. We had an overall win for... I've got myself mixed up here. I was about to read the wrong results out there. Good catch, Rob. A win on the ladies' side for Fenella Langridge. So brilliant season she's having. Nikki Bartlett in 2nd, Martina Koons in 3rd. And over on the men's side, we had Ivan Yarridge from France ahead of Max Rabot and Will Clark in 3rd. Suzie Richards in 5th has got a great interview for us about the race a little bit later on today. So great racing from Fenella, and you can listen to our interview with her a couple of weeks ago if you go back and slide back through the old feed in iTunes. Yeah,
Rob, that's 4 podiums from her 4 70.3 starts.
Cracking debut. Nice work, Fenella.
Isn't that great? And she did say something like, I think I'm going to have a drink now. And I said to her, are you working in the pub on Monday? Because I think Mondays she usually works in the pub. She said, no, I think I've got Monday off.
Having the Monday off. Good girl.
Fenella, those aero helmet bags are going to become very popular.
Love it.
Aren't they?
They are indeed.
The onion aero bag. I think you're going to get a list of people wanting them from you.
One last set of results from the Outlaw Half in Holcombe. We had the men's race taken out by Sam Proctor from Ian Dempsey in 2nd and Joe Bands in 3rd. And the women's race was run by Rachel Hawker, who's actually coached by Suzie Richards, Claire Weller in 2nd and Claire Shear-Simmons in 3rd. All right. Brilliant. Right, so a quick one today, Hels, from Coach's Couch.
Yeah, so Rob, what to do basically when it's really not going your way on race day and that little voice tells you to quit?
This has come up a lot today as I've been going through my athletes' comments about the weekend. I'm almost convinced it's largely down to people going out in heat they're unaccustomed to, trying to push themselves either to run a half marathon or a marathon in. But so many comments today just said, I ran the first 2K and I just wanted to stop, or I did stop and I stood by the barriers and I walked for a bit and I just felt awful and my bike power had been a bit down and I told myself I wasn't feeling great the whole way around. And there are so many comments around this at the minute that I thought this would be a really good thing to bring up for people at the moment, because everybody goes through this. Everybody gets that voice on a lot of races where, you very rarely get the race where it all goes perfectly for you. So what I'm going to challenge our listeners to do this week is just to have a little pre-prepared answer for that voice when it comes along and says, you can quit, you can stop, you can just do one lap and you can drop out. The standard reply has just got to be, look, we've committed to doing this race. Unless you've picked up some horrendous injury and been in a smash and you're in real hideous pain, make the deal with yourself that you're going to get to the finish line of this race, even if you've got to be significantly slower than you hoped you were going to be. And let's be honest, if you're racing in the heat in the next couple of weeks, and especially this is going to hold true for the iron distance racing, it is very, very likely that you're going to be significantly slower than you're expecting and hoping to be on the run, simply because of the heat stress. It's very likely your heart rate is going to be raised because of the heat stress, and that's going to mean you're going to have to back your pace off. Even if you've been training in the heat, I think you're going to find it's going to be much more difficult to race in the heat come race day. So just accept that you may well be a bit slower than you want to be, but that's not a reason to listen to the voice, because that voice loves that excuse of, well, my hope of doing a 4-hour marathon has gone out the window, so I may as well just walk it in. Just make the deal with yourself that you've done all this training over the past year. You're going to give it your best shot on race day.
And think of the why. Like, why are you doing it? And when you think back to that as well, that always helps, I think.
It's really hard, isn't it, to have any kind of dialogue when you're racing. It's like I always think of it as like trying to get a 4-year-old into bed. We're not negotiating about this. You are going to bed now. That's how it is. No, we're not talking about different books. No, we're not changing pajamas. You're going to bed. It's the same thing on race day. You are not going to get into negotiate and think about different reasons or try and come up with, I've done all this training, so I should. It's non-negotiable. You're getting yourself to the finish line, and the less excuses your mind has to have, the easier it's going to be for you, I think, on race day.
The other thing is, Rob, with the heat, I remember Challenge Peguera, and that was really, really hot, and there were so many British people doing it, and it was October kind of time, and yeah, most people would not have been training in that warmth, so it really was difficult on that run on race day. But you realised pretty soon on that, you know what, you're not the only one going through that heat. Everyone is struggling in that heat. Everyone's moving slower. Like, you can look around. So whatever you're going through, chances are other people are going through the same thing, and you've just got to stay strong.
Yeah, I think you're dead right to identify that now, and probably at the time it doesn't feel that way. Probably the voice is telling you, nobody else is suffering like I am. Look at all these people who are going faster than me. I think in the cold light of day, it's easy to rationalise it. We've just got to shut that voice down when it starts telling us on race day, look, everyone else is fine in the heat and it's just you that's struggling. Because there will be some people who go all right in the heat, and that's the difficult thing. If you're not going to, it's just not getting involved in that mental battle. Save the mental energy, make your mind go quiet, and just put one foot in front of the other and keep on moving.
Rob, on the way home, I rode home the other day, right? And I probably got about halfway, I think, with a colleague, okay? And so I was very much sitting on my colleague's wheel. He was very happy for me to do that. So we set off he goes at quite a pace. It's a bit like riding with Rich. I'm like, oh my God, blowing out my ass just to try to keep up. Anyway, got halfway back, and then suddenly it was just really embarrassing. I could barely move. I could barely move the pedals. Really? And I was thinking, I'm going to die. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, this is so hot. All of the roads, the country lanes that we got on by that point, they had started to melt.
Yeah, I was going to say, was the tar melting? It's hideous, isn't it?
Oh my God, so it was like riding through treacle.
Yeah. You've got to be super careful on those sharp corners as well, because it's really slippery, isn't it, when you turn your wheel in it?
It was really horrible, and I was going almost as close to the hedge as I could, because if you go in the wheel tracks of the car, so you could either go slap bang in the middle of the road between where the car wheels would go, and that was a bit less slippy and a bit less glue-like, or right by the hedge. But yeah, I just the last probably 20-25 minutes I really struggled home, and he peeled off as soon as he could. He was like, I'm going to get this way now. I'm like, I don't blame you. I'm moving like a snail. I saw him today, and he said, Helen, he said, I felt so bad. I said, it was awful. I just had nothing. He was like, yeah, I could tell. You were moving so slowly.
Whoever would have thought we'd have been talking about tips for riding on melting tar in this country? Oh, love it. Yeah, Summer of 2018. It was hot every day, and England won the World Cup. Yeah. Right, come on, let's get into this week's interview of the week then. So really great to have Suzie Richards back on the show. All right, so it's great to have Suzie Richards here with us on the show. Thanks very much for joining us, Suzie. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks, Rob. I'm sat in a friend's flat in Edinburgh, recovering from yesterday.
Yep, so you've just, as we're recording, you've just literally raced 70.3 Edinburgh. And a very good result as well, it's got to be said. 5th place, 5th pro. Very impressive. How do you feel? Like, first up, can you walk? Can you get back down the stairs again yet?
I haven't attempted to leave the flat yet, Rob, so we'll see.
You might be doing the bum shuffle, pulling your bags down behind you to get home later on, might you?
Yeah, no, I've got to take my bike down 2 flights of steps. So yeah, could be interesting.
Oh, wow. Well, we wanted to get you on because obviously we've got a real interest in British athletes, and in particular British athletes who have been at the top of the game in the age group ranks and then take that really, what must be a really difficult and challenging but also exciting step to race pro. And this is your first year racing pro, and you've had some good results, and you seem to be on an upward trajectory all the time. So 5th yesterday at 70.3 Edinburgh, which is great, gets you in the money.
Yeah, definitely. Always good to win a bit of money.
Has it paid for the trip? Did it manage to cover the trip? Is that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, staying with friends, and we cooked them dinner on Saturday night, so definitely covers an Aldi shop.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? One of the things that's really interesting that I think most people don't get, I was reading your blog and you were saying you went out and did 70.3 Marbella and you were staying in the youth hostel there, and you were chatting to some people who basically said, what are you doing staying in the youth hostel? You're a professional triathlete. And they were under this impression that, you know, you were being showered in cash by people and that's why you turned pro. But I think the reality is very much not like that. So that's what I was interested in talking to you today about. So, I mean, let's go through the differences first between racing age group and racing pro, and talk a little bit about your background, because I think a lot of people know your name and will have seen you racing on things like the Slateman on the TV. So you've been at the very top of age group racing for several years now. How did you get into triathlon in the first place? What was your journey like to get you in here?
I've been a runner, since 13, 14, played every sport, was a runner at Loughborough University.
Okay.
And then had my first job in London, joined Herne Hill Harriers, and for any Herne Hill Harriers listening. And some of them were into triathlon, so it's kind of just, I'll give it a go. And went from there, really. That was 2010, I think. 2011. I did my first.
And then obviously you're very suited to these races that are tough, that are hilly. You are, I mean, amusingly, your blog is called Big Suze, isn't it? And you're not the tallest athlete on the circuit, that has to be said. You've got a wind shadow that's about the size of a dormouse when you're riding your bike, which is brilliant. So you're really suited to the hard, hilly courses. Like Slateman, that's where, you know, I've seen you several times on the TV at Slateman doing really well there. It just seems like you love those tough events.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, my favourite cross-country course growing up was Parliament Hill, muddy, hilly, pretty tough. So, yeah, and being pretty small, I mean, I'm horrible to try and draft off. Absolute nightmare for people I ride and train with in Leeds when we're doing 2-up training. I love hilly course, and that's one reason I chose Edinburgh. Also, it's kind of on the doorstep, a few hours from Leeds.
Yeah. And so, like, over the last few seasons, you've obviously been having some really good results. You've been consistently winning races and winning your age group and winning the overall. You were, am I right in saying, World Duathlon age group champion a couple of years ago? Is that right?
Yeah. Back in Pontevedra, I think it was, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, was that the point you started thinking, okay, right, world champion, it's time to maybe make the jump and try racing pro?
Yeah, I guess. I think the main season that I thought about it was 2014. I had a really good year, winning age group duathlon, and I won Slateman. I won a few races that year. I won the trip to the Caribbean, having won all three, Slateman, Sandman, Snowman, with Ewan Brown. So we had a great Nevis trip with Jane Hanson and people. So after that, I think I'd won about 6 races overall that season. And I thought, maybe I could. We did next year. I did Outlaw in Nottingham, won that. And I won it by about 10 minutes. And it made me think, maybe, I want to race the best people, really put myself out there. I trained with Ellie Hairsign up in Yorkshire and Leeds, and she was racing pro. We did Stockton Duathlon, and I just beat her in a sprint finish. It was a dubious win. I think the chip said I'd won, but the photo looks like she would won, so maybe I just stuck my foot out. But that really gave me the confidence. I was training with her, racing, And I thought, she's out there racing pro, and she was talking me through it. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to throw myself at it. I'd rather be the worst of the best than the best of everyone else, is my attitude. So, yeah, so that's how I did it, and applied for a pro license from British Tri and got that. And, yeah, here we are.
And here we are. Yeah, this is the point I think that's going to get interesting for everybody, because I think it's fair to say most people harbour a secret wish. If I could just have a year off work and train really hard, could I race pro? What would it be like? So what's the difference been like for you from racing age groups to racing pro? What are some of the differences that you've noticed?
A big one for me, I didn't come from a swimming background at all. So the swim's been my weakness. And as a pro, especially the women's race, so Edinburgh, it was only 9 of us started yesterday. So you've got a really small number of you starting in the swim compared to, say, 2,000 people.
Yeah.
So not many feet to be on. You haven't got much draft. And that was, I wrote about that in my Marbella blog, that it's, if you lose feet, you are literally by yourself in the sea with no one around you. There's no one to look up, and you can't see many people sighting. So that's a huge difference. And then again on the bike, you get out the swim, and it is a time trial. It's a solo time trial, until often you might get a handful of age group men come flying past you on some incredible bikes. But yeah, it's a lot more, it is a solo time trial, and a lot more of a respect than in a mass start with 2,000 odd people.
Yeah, so it's quite lonely, it sounds like, when you get out on the bike, and a completely different environment, isn't it? You're just there on your own riding, and I guess you don't really know who's around you, who's in front of you, who's behind you, what the gaps are.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, yesterday I had a pretty good swim, and actually I think what helped me was my sighting was quite good. And I caught, there was a group of 3, including Nikki Bartlett. They all turned at the last buoy and went in some direction, and I decided to branch out and go in a different direction, and I hit the beach before them. So we're all in transition tent. There was 4 of us in transition tent together, all ran out together, so we all jumped on our bikes together. And a few people were giving time checks, and they told us, it's 5 minutes up the road to, I think, Fenella, or maybe even 5.5 up to Fenella, and I think Claire was on her feet. So that, you got a time check there, but apart from that, there's nothing. So yeah, it is interesting. You're not really sure where you are in the race, and unless you kind of out and back sections, but it's very hard to tell.
Yeah, and does that extend all the way to the run as well? I guess when you get into the run course, there's still not going to be many people around, are there? So it's going to be a really quite lonely and strange affair compared to having the whole race going on around you.
Yeah, I mean, the last few races I've done have been have lapped courses, which does help. I mean, by the time you've got lots of people going on the course, but you're not really sure what lap people are on, where people are. Edinburgh yesterday was 3 laps. So, by the time I was on there, my second lap, there were quite a few more age groupers on the course. By the last lap, there was quite a few. So it was, a good atmosphere. But yeah, in terms of where the pros are, if you pass them, that's quite good. But you can get to sections and they can be hidden. You're not sure where they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, listen, let's talk specifically about the 70.3 Edinburgh race then. It's renowned as being a tough and honest course, which obviously is going to suit you. What were your experiences like in the swim, bike and run? Talk us through it for someone who hasn't done the event.
Yeah, so it's the second year it's run, and the swim this year I think was a complete contrast to last year. It was pretty calm. Last year was pretty horrific. I think they shortened it because it was really choppy. But yeah, it starts out Preston
Sea
Links.
swim.
Sea swim.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sea swim. Starts out Preston Links. You start on the beach, a bit pebbly. You run in, just anti-clockwise rectangle. It was pretty good. You could see the boys really clearly. That was fine. As I said, there was only 8 of us, so we kind of weren't many. I managed to hang on for feet, got dropped, managed to claw back. But
well, that's really good, isn't it? Because you're swimming. I know you've worked really hard in your swimming, and you've put some serious hours in over this winter and the last year, and it certainly looks like that's paying dividends for you, because that's where you need to be. You need to be in that little pack of feet, don't you, in the pro race?
Yeah, definitely. And that's again the difference between the pro race and the age group race. Like the pro race, you want to come out, you want to be in a pace line, really.
Yeah.
With people, so you can kind of get a bit of a gist start with people. It's a bit more surgy. It's more of a race. People have their power, people have things, but actually they're racing each other.
Yeah.
So it's not like, let's just, go by myself, time trial. You've kind of like got to hang on if someone goes for it.
Yeah. What kind of hours have you been putting in the pool over the winter? Give people an idea how you've tried to step it up.
Yeah, I've been swimming 5 to 6 times a week, hour and a half, 2 hours an hour. So like average around 6-7 hours of swimming a week. Mostly early mornings. It was kind of grim in the winter, de-icing the car, traveling to school in the dark. But yeah, you have to do it. The swim is really important in the pro race.
Yeah.
I think, age group athletes, if you're time crunched, you can get away with less in the water because you can make it up on the bike. But in the pro races, so much emphasis on the swim.
Yeah, and then you mentioned before, of course, you get out onto the bike and it becomes a bike race rather than people riding their individual time trials almost. How have you tried to change your training to adapt to that style of racing? What are you doing differently than you would have done when you were winning Slateman out on your own, for example?
Yeah, I think it's just being able to have a few different gears to change into.
Yeah.
Being able to hit max out power and then recover, but not then go back to zero. So it's kind of like doing a lot of over and under threshold training sort of thing, and just sustained. And also, it's really important to be in a really good position. So I've spent a lot of time worked with Harry, who owns Revolver Wheels up in Newcastle. He's a brilliant time trialist. And he's helped me, in his kitchen, in his home, like sat on my bike, tweaking my aero bars and just practicing that, I spent hours in the garage just in a position, looking at a mirror.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because your position now, I think you posted a really good photo of your position against Harry Walker's from back in the day, and you're almost identical. And there's a very noticeable trend at the moment in the faster riders riding in your new sort of position with hands extremely high, kind of the head tucked down and almost no frontal area shown to the wind. I mean, already you hardly show any frontal area to the wind already, right? But your wind shadow now is tiny because your head just completely fills that gap that on most people would be the chest and arms and stuff. So is that something that's quite hard to hold when you're writing outdoors? Have you had to train for that indoors in the winter?
Yeah, definitely. And that's been my big new thing this year. And yeah, as Harry said, it's not really about getting low. It's about having a smaller surface area as possible that's going to be hitting the wind.
Yeah.
So yeah, creating that. I thought I'd got quite good on the turbo in the position, and then I went outside to start riding, when the weather got nice enough to not destroy your TT bike in the salt, March, April time. And I was like struggling to hold it for 10 minutes at a time. So it's a big difference now. I think, you can go out and ride 90k, 2.5, 3 hours in that position. But I just built it up. So like 10-minute block, a couple of minutes out, another 10 minutes, 20 minutes. It is something you just have to get used to.
Yeah.
But equally, I'm big on flexibility and mobility. And I think you can't hold it if you don't have the mobility in your back and your shoulders. Like, you'll just destroy yourself. So you do need to work on that.
Yeah. There's a two-pronged attack there, isn't it? The first one is you've got to be really strong and in good condition, and all the core work and stuff that you do there has really helped. But I think the second point that's really good for people to remember is even a pro like Suzie Richards comes out of the winter, tries to ride outdoors in the position and goes, I can't hold this for more than 10 minutes. And that's something we're always reiterating to people, which is that you will be able to over time, but you probably won't be able to right now, because it's really challenging at the start of the year to hold that position at all, isn't it? Let alone for a race distance.
Yeah, definitely. And I was riding with a friend the other day, and she's doing Vichy, And she's got a road bike. She doesn't have a TT bike, and she was saying about having clip-on bars. And she's like, oh, maybe I should get them now and practice. I'm like, yeah, definitely. Don't worry, it will take time to get used to them.
Yeah.
Don't think I can go out and ride 100 kilometers on my bars straight away. Like, that's very hard.
Yeah, absolutely. What sort of improvement have you seen? Have you got any measurable data that shows how much you've improved just through the position change over the winter?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. I've done a few time trials. So I did a 25-mile TT. And I was according to Tribe, just under the hour. So I'd been just over the hour before. So that was but I was actually a few watts lower than my last attempt on that course, but 3 minutes quicker.
Wow.
So that was interesting because I was actually, the thing is, it's all about speed. In a race, you want to get point A to B in the quickest speed.
That's right.
It doesn't matter about how many watts you put out. And actually, the less watts you put out may be better because then you've got more energy for the run. So that's been my big thing, is focusing on speed rather than focusing on watts.
Oh, it's very telling, isn't it? You can get a 3 minute, even a highly trained athlete can get a 3 minute improvement based on position and kit alone, compared to, virtually the same power, if not slightly less power. So well worth remembering for people who are searching for that edge out there. Yeah,
definitely. I think the fitter you get, the harder it is to improve in terms of fitness wise, but you can improve your position. That's my next goal is, how do you pump out the power in that position? Because I think actually when you're in a lower position, it's harder for your glutes to work. I'm finding I know my glutes aren't working as well as they could.
Yeah.
Because it's a more of extreme position. So it's figuring that balance out. How do you fire on all cylinders plus be aero?
Yeah. And how are you finding that translates over into the racing then? So you're riding now. Let's talk about Edinburgh again this weekend. You came out of the water with a pack of 4. And how did the ride play out on that course? What did you feel like you were racing each other as you were going along and trying to drop each other on hills?
Well, I think Nikki dropped us pretty quickly. I had an ambitious plan, but she came out of the water. Nikki came out of the water maybe 20 or so seconds ahead of me. So we were in the transition tent together, but she made a quicker exit than me. She's an Uber biker, but I thought, you know what, I'll just see what it's like to try and ride, with her, see what it's like. Anyway, she jumped on and she was just like foot down, absolutely incredible. And I was going along the first stretch and I thought, you know what, if I do this, I'm just going to burn all my matches straight away. And my legs did not feel good at all starting the bike. So I kind of made the decision straight away, like, don't even worry about it. And so I think there's a French girl, Anna Bosso. So I decided, I was behind her and I thought, I'm not sure about this. I'm going to overtake her. Because if you sit, you've got the draft, you've got 12 meters. If you're sat behind someone, you can either feel pretty comfortable or you think, I don't know, am I taking it too easy here? I should just overtake. So I just made the decision to overtake her and chase. And then I saw Nikki disappearing into the distance. And looking at her bikes, but I think she managed to close that gap, that 5.5 minute gap or so to Fenella, and actually come into T2 in front of Fenella. So that's a pretty phenomenal catch up.
Yeah.
So, and then they had a bit of a battle on the run with, yeah.
So it sounds like you made the right decision saving your matches to give you the best chance of the run. Where did you come off the bike? What position were you in off the bike?
So I think I was 5th. I was 5th coming off the bike.
Okay.
So yeah, I caught Claire, another British athlete, Han. She managed to swim with Vanilla, so those two had come up front. So I caught Claire on the bike.
Yeah.
Maybe at 60 kilometre mark. And then we weren't that far apart, and I could see her all the way on the run at the turnaround points and things. So she definitely kept me thinking, don't slow down, because I knew there's a difference in prize money between 5th and 6th, and that was a big motivator.
Yeah, I bet it was. And what's the run course like at Edinburgh?
Definitely not flat.
Yeah, understatement.
The maps and the profile are deceiving. It shows it just doing kind of out and back along the side of the park. And it's quite nice, but no, it's like up a massive hill up the side of the park, down a bit, up. They've done a good job in terms of they take you through a little tunnel, and that was brilliant, really cool. They had a sound system in there, music blaring, so all of a sudden you go into this dark tunnel, run out, turn around, run back. So that was a cool section.
Nice.
Steep little bits, like out the tunnels, steep kind of up back onto the main path. But yeah, it felt either up or down.
Yeah, okay. So a real good challenging course for athletes who want to get out and ride some hills and run some hills, and perhaps not one for a fast time, but definitely a beautiful and challenging race, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no fast times happening there. Especially some of the road surfaces on the biker, you're not going to be no silky smooth roads.
Oh, bless. So in the same weekend, we've got the silky smooth tarmac at Roth and Austria, and then also the opposite end of the spectrum, there's 70.3 Edinburgh.
Yeah, that's it. But I think the pro man who won summed it up nicely when he, was being interviewed on the stage, and he said it's just really nice to have a race on the circuit that isn't, all about fast times and riding along a flat dual carriageway. It is really interesting. You're never going to get bored. Great atmosphere and just a really good challenge. Yeah. Really good challenge. So yeah, it's a great course one to do for sure.
Good, nice one. Well, listen, that was 5th place there. Congratulations. A couple of places closer to the podium than Staff's. Yeah. And then earlier this year, you had 70.3 Marbella as well. So your results are headed in an upward trajectory, it seems, to an outside observer. Confidence hopefully slightly building after each race as well. You're getting a little bit more comfortable racing pro.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so 7th Marbella, 6th Staffs, 5th Edinburgh. Hey, podium is there by the end of the season.
3 more races between now and the World Championships, right?
So, that's it.
What's next for you? What have you got planned for the rest of your season?
I'm actually heading out to Alpe d'Huez.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, in a few weeks. That's a bucket list. I mean, this season for me, I had a foot operation last year, so this year is just all about racing, gaining experience, having fun. I'm actually entered into the long race at Alpe d'Huez, but I'm going to change to the short race because I think the long race might take a bit too much out because I'm actually planning Dublin, 70.3, and then Weymouth.
Right, okay, so the full circuit of UK races this year.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about the circuit at the moment is, you can be a British pro starting out and you don't need to pay loads and loads of money to fly all around the world because you can actually collect points, put yourself on the map in the UK.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you mentioned just then before about your foot injury last season. I think it'd be good to talk a little bit about that because I'm sure most of the people listening are struggling with some kind of niggle at some point or at all points, who knows. And I know that you really went through it, didn't you? And you went through the full range of emotions from, all right, maybe I can manage this, to I've got to have an operation. And I think you're a great example of one of the people who's managed the rehab probably as smartly as a person could. So tell us a little bit about the injury and what it was and what you had to have done.
Yes, I had a bone spur on my heel that it just looked like a bump on the heel. It was the bone had calcified and was then hitting my Achilles in certain positions. Sometimes it was absolutely fine. Sometimes it was absolutely agony.
Yeah.
And it'd been going on for several years. So I remember racing Liverpool, the British Championship. It was also, I raced the Super Series the day that Gwen Jorgensen decided to turn up and come and swim in Liverpool docks with us. And it was terrible weather. It was like back end of a hurricane. I think the men's race got cancelled in the end. But we go ahead, and I remember swimming in the docks with Gwen and people, and it was a good experience. But I remember driving home with a friend back to Leeds and was in so much pain with my foot. It was just horrible. So yeah, it's been on and off several years, and I got to the point last year, it just went again, so I decided to get it operated on. So they just shaved the bone off, basically.
They just shave the bone off.
And then you have lots of time on the sofa in a plaster cast and then a boot and time on crutches building up those biceps.
How long were you in a cast for with this?
So I had a cast on for 8 weeks.
Okay.
And then I was in a boot. So total, I was about 3 months of non-weight bearing, which is quite a while.
And then talk us through, how did that feel mentally while you were, basically when you're someone who trains 2 or 3 times a day every day, how does it feel to be unable to do anything for 3 months?
Yeah, a lot of people thought, oh, you're going to really struggle. And I thought initially I would, but actually I was okay because in my mind I knew this was going to make me better.
Yeah.
So I very much had that attitude of, this is how I'm going to get good. I'm never going to be able to reach my potential with my foot in its current state. So I was actually quite relaxed about it. And last few years I've got very into yoga. And some of the teachers have become amazing, and they gave me things I could do without, needing just lying on the sofa. So I got quite more into meditation, a lot interested in breathing techniques, things I could do. And I was quite relaxed about it. And then I was doing, triathlon coaching course. I was doing a lot of reading. I was also, I work for Teach First doing various things. So I kept myself busy, but in different ways.
Yeah.
But I very much had the attitude of, this is going to make me better, so I don't need to rush it. I don't need to try and get on, get in the pool early. I mean, ultimately, I was there. I did go on the turbo in my boot at one point, but it was very hot and sweaty, and I think it took a while for my boot to dry out. But yeah, I knew it was going to make me better in the long term.
Oh, I think that's great for people to hear and listen to, because I think the challenge of overcoming any injury is your mind telling you you're losing time, you're losing fitness, you've got to get back, you can do something. So I really respect the way what you've done there is you've gone away and you have done stuff, but it's not been necessarily physical. It's worked on your mental mindset and the staying calm mentally stuff. And I imagine that's really paid dividends for you with the pressure and stress of trying to step up a level to race pro as well. Is that something that you found has really helped you out?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely use a lot of the techniques, and at the moment, I guess because I feel like I've got nothing to lose, I very much, think, just stepping up and showing up on the start line is great, and then whatever happens, So, but yeah, a lot of that attitude and a lot of the calmness and things has definitely come from a lot of things I've learned during the rehab.
Good, that's really cool. And then you've just mentioned there, obviously you've started coaching professionally as well over the last year. So if people are interested in coaching and want to get in contact with you, how can they? To be a bit of a plug, how can they get in contact with you to find out more about what you do?
Yeah, well, you can have a look on my website, bigsuze.com. I'm also one of your athletes, Rob. Not athletes, so one of your coaches on Oxygenaddict. So you can have a look at the Oxygenaddict website and the coaches page, and all the details are on there. But yeah, that's been something and that's really helped my journey as an athlete as well. People say to me, yeah, I bet it's great. People who are coached by you, they're inspired by what you're doing. But I think I'm more inspired by them. I've got a whole range of people, from people who are retired, training to do a sprint pool-based, swimming the 400 meters is their main goal for this season. And then I've got other people like Rachel Hawker, who just won Holcomb yesterday. She's aiming to get her pro license in the next few years. So I've got a whole range of people, and especially in the winter when I see their training peaks go green, I see a comment on their turbo being like, what was that? That was brutal, or whatever it was. But they've done it. And I'm sat there having a coffee and going, right, I need to crack on with mine. They've done their session. I need to get out and do my session. So it's been a real, they inspire me as much as maybe I inspire them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's really cool. All right, nice one. Hey, well, listen, thanks very much for taking the time to come on. It's been great to hear your story and your journey, and I'm sure on behalf of all the other listeners, best of luck with the upcoming races, Alpe d'Huez and Dublin and Weymouth, and people can give you a shout out down there at those races as you come zooming by, hopefully at the front of the pro field, right?
Yeah, hopefully that's the aim. But yeah, no, it's great. It's great meeting lots of people on the courses. Everyone's really friendly. And people give me a good shout out. I love hearing Big Sue's being shouted out from the side, so that's brilliant.
Excellent. All right, well, listen, take care of yourself, and we'll have you back on the show again sometime soon, hopefully, to hear more stories.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Rob. Good to chat.
All right, cheers.
All righty.
I think it's great, Hels, when you've got somebody who is trying to be the best that they can be, and they're dedicating themselves to it and saying, I'm just going to do what I can do to get a little bit better. And I've got a lot of respect for Suzie, because it would have been easy for her to keep on racing age group, keep on getting on the telly, winning Slateman and all those events every year. But it's very different to step up to race pro and then, finish 12th or whatever she did in Marbella in her first race as a pro and be a fair way behind out the water. So I really love that. I think it's a great attitude.
I also think as well, she was on the sofa for how many weeks when she had that really after her operation?
3 months on the sofa.
Yeah, and she probably thought, am I ever going to get back to where I was, and all that doubt that creeps in. So to kind of come through that and show that, yeah, actually all of that talent, it is all still there, and she's showing it now.
Yeah. And all that time that she talks about spending her time on mental training and meditation and focusing on how much she was going to get better. I think we can all learn from that for next time we've got a niggle or an injury, and doing the stuff that you can do right now in the moment to be better rather than focusing on all the things that are going wrong. Yeah, exactly. Good. So she just needs a few more races. We've had 7th, 6th, 5th. We just need 4, 3, 2, and then 1, don't we?
A few more. Then, yeah, exactly. Then it'll be there.
Yeah, great stuff. All right, listen, that's just about it for this week's show. So the last thing to do is to keep sending your nominations in for our Triathlete of the Month award. You can send those into helen@oxygenaddict.com. And until next week, thanks very much for listening and for tuning in, everybody. I'm Coach Rob Wilby.
I'm Helen Murray. And
you've been listening to the Oxygenaddict Triathlon Podcast. Don't forget, you can use the code Oxygenaddict1 at wearetribe.co to get yourself a sample pack there. And you can use the code Oxygenaddict to get yourself $9.99's worth of precision hydration at precisionhydration.com. All right, everyone, until next week, we'll see you all again soon. Thanks for listening. See ya.